Hi, and welcome back to Statistical Reasoning. We are continuing on in Chapter 1, Introduction to Statistics. We're going to move into Section 2, which is Types of Data. We have two definitions to talk about before we start breaking it down into the different types. The first definition is a parameter, and a parameter is simply any number that we use to describe a characteristic of a population. Notice that parameter starts with P and population starts with P. A statistic is a number that represents or describes a characteristic of a sample. Statistic starts with S, sample starts with S. That's just one way to help you try and remember which one goes with which. Now as we start breaking down the data, we have two main types of data. The first one is quantitative data. It also can be called numerical data. It is where you take numbers and you are counting or measuring something. The weights of supermodels, the ages of respondents, how many siblings you have, how tall you are, those are all examples of quantitative data. Categorical data is your second type. It also is sometimes called qualitative data. This is where you name something or label something. It can be a number, but it would not be a number that you would count or measure. The first one is gender of professional athletes. Sometimes we just see it used as M and F for male or female. Sometimes you'll also use like a 0 for male and a 1 for female or vice versa. The shirt number on a professional athlete's uniform. When you see an athlete with a number on it, it doesn't mean that they have 62 people on the team. 62 simply represents that individual player, and so it's more like a name than a count. Quantitative data can be broken down into two types of data. We have discrete and continuous. Discrete data is a value that you can count, and it is finite. So the instance is the number of tosses of coins before getting a tails. It might take you 1 time, it might take you 2 times, it might take you 10 times, it might take you 1,000 times, but it is actually something I could count. It is finite. Versus continuous data, which is I can't count how many options I have. In the example, the lengths of distances from 0 centimeters to 12 centimeters, the options I can think of is it can be 0.6 centimeters. It could be 2 centimeters. It could be 4.7. It could be 9.35. It could be 11.765432, and so on. And so you can see how there's so many more options in this situation, and therefore there are infinite amount of options or data. So it is continuous. Now we also have what are called the levels of measurement: nominal, ordinal, interval, and ratio. And so we can take different types of data and break those down as well. So nominal level of measurement is when you take a category, something that is a name or a label, and it's something that cannot be arranged in order. So for instance, yes, no, and undecided. There's no order that you could give those. Even if you chose to do them alphabetically, that order has no significance, no meaning. So things that can have no type of ordering is nominal level, and they're also categories. Ordinal level are things that can be put in order, but they aren't necessarily meaningful. So the example they give you are A, B, C, D, or F. Now in this situation, yeah, the A is meaningful. It means I did very well in the class, and B, and so on. But if I looked at the difference between an A and a B and a C, and so on, the difference between an A and a B is not necessarily meaningful. If I got an A and my friend got a B, that doesn't mean I did a lot better than her. It doesn't mean I did 10% better than her. I could have done 1% better or 9% better. It just knows that I did a little bit better. So the difference between the A and the B is the meaningless part. Interval. So this is our third type of level of measurement. An interval is where I can actually put them in order and it has some type of meaning. In this example, the years 1,000, 2,000, and so on. Definitely can put that in order. But if I think about the year 0, did we ever have a year 0? And we had BC and now we have AD. So I actually can go on one side of 0 and I can come on the other side of 0. So there is no such thing as what's called a natural 0. I can do both sides. Another example of an interval level is when you think about temperature. We have temperatures that are in the positive, we have temperatures in the negative, and even 0 doesn't necessarily mean anything because we have 0 degrees Fahrenheit, 0 degrees Celsius, they don't mean the same. So if it has no natural 0, but I can put them in order and that part does have meaning, then it is an interval level. Not many things out there are interval level though. Ratio as level is what we tend to do more when we're dealing with numbers. So we can definitely put them in order, 50 minutes versus 100 minutes. The idea of what's the difference between them means something. If my class time is 50 minutes versus my class time is 100 minutes, well, 100 is 50 more. That means something. I know my class is twice as long if I have 100 minutes. The other idea is 0 actually has a natural starting point. If my class time is 0, I don't have a class. So my class has been canceled. That means something to me. If you're dealing with how tall you are, the difference between them means the distance in if I'm shorter or taller, or as I've grown as I've gotten older. If I'm 0, that means I haven't been conceived yet. So everything changes and everything is meaningful when we're dealing with ratio levels. Again, here are the 4 levels: nominal, ordinal, interval, and ratio. And you can use this to kind of help you be a guide as you're trying to differentiate between them. I have a slide picked out that is on Blackboard. It's some activities for you so you can practice deciding what's nominal, what's ordinal, what's interval, and what's ratio. Have a good day, and I'll see you back for 1-3.